I'd like to know a little bit about your huge body of work.
Yeah, 365 pieces for guitar called Once Around the Sun. It's a hyper magnum opus, so it's 5 years of work.
Is it really? Yes. I didn't know that.
And, well, spread over 5 years. Some 2,500 hours of composition.
Wow.
In addition, some editing and revision and that sort of thing. And, what else? It's like 830 pages of music.
Okay, so let's backtrack. What started this project for you?
In 2015, 2016, I had quite a dry period. I hadn't been writing for some years, and I couldn't seem to find a place to write. And eventually
As in a place to write? Or you
in here,
your head?
a place in my head to write. And I had resisted for some years because I had other things going on. And so I decided, I did write a choral piece to try to break that drought, and it was okay. Yeah. And then I wrote, I was planning on writing a piece for the Queens Youth Orchestra, which eventually eventuated the next year. But I was considering pushing my creative juices as the day demand. And what I was thinking in terms of what artists and poets do.
Yeah.
So what do? They write every day.
So it's a personal
They paint every day. And, you read about Picasso, which was one idea I had, that, he would paint 2 or 3 paintings a day. And just to get in there. And the one thing that he said is that he always found inspiration by working. You don't find inspiration and then work.
Yeah,
you work to find inspiration. So that's my idea. And we had some guests on Christmas time, on Boxing Day, the day after Christmas. Everybody was chatting in the living room, and I'm the type of person, I can't stand to be around too much talking for too long a period of time.
Yeah.
And so I went to my room, and I had this idea, I'm going to start this project. And I originally thought of writing 1 piece per day, and do that for a full year. So real time sort of doing it. And so
had you ever done that before?
Never. No. I'd written pieces, not in a day, but over a few days I would write a piece and consider it.
It's a big undertaking.
It's a big undertaking, and I realized that, not everything would be perfect, not everything would be at the same level. There would be pieces of different nuance and different abilities. So some pieces are very simple, some are very poetic. And in the end, it was multi-style and multi-genre, because that's one of the things that I'm involved in doing. So I would write, eventually I would write some small studies, I would write waltzes, and all sorts of things. Whatever I came to my mind on the day, that's what I wrote. And some pieces would be Latin American, flamenco, some would be funk. There was a couple of funk pieces in there. Fusion pieces, so jazz and rock sort of sounds.
So it's really eclectic.
Very eclectic, more so than anything I've done. But what I did on that day, on that Boxing Day, I kept thinking a lot about the Bach Chaconne and the D minor Chaconne from the Second Violin Suite. And I remember having read it and looked at it and everything, and never played it. And I ended up ordering the music and then studying it and working on it over that same period.
So is there a transcription for guitar?
Yeah, Andre Segovia did.
Oh, okay. So, I didn't know that.
That's the classic one, 1934.
Okay.
And that was it. And so that was in my mind, but not necessarily music, but the resonance of music. And often when I feel like I want to write something, it's a feeling. Yeah. And it's a concept of a musical space, but no exact content.
No.
So I am impelled to try to reach that feeling and then start writing.
Okay.
So I sat down. This guitar is not tuned properly for it, but I just started with a little D minor group, and then went on to start doing different colors in it. And I just started mucking around.
So through improvisation?
It was improvisation. Most of the pieces are from improvisation.
So do you sit with your guitar and...
Sit with my guitar. Sometimes I heard something and I would go and find it on the guitar and start. But it was always improvising my way through. And I would write that out, and then I think this needs a contrast or change. And a lot of my writing is what I call insistent, thematic sort of things. So,
what do you mean by that?
Bach did it, and I think I picked up on it when I was learning pieces or reading music of his. And he would take a little thematic element and insist on it.
Right, yeah.
Right, so repetition.
Lots of repetition.
Different forms, using different types of musical techniques. And a lot of pieces were going through that, and then I would always say, I need a contrast here.
Yeah.
But this day I sat down and wrote that piece. It took me about less than an hour to sketch it out. And then I worked on it that day and the next day. And I had my first piece. And it's called At the Tomb of the Maestro now. So I actually used it, renamed it when I went to Spain. And I went to the tomb of Segovia.
Yeah.
And played it in the room above his tomb in the hallway there.
That
And
was
so I renamed it then. So it was just number one at first. But what happened is that gave me, after the guests left, I took it upon myself to write 4 or 5 hours a day. And I ended up...
That's a huge commitment.
It is a commitment. And my wife was working, so I was home by myself, and I just worked. And
It's incredible personal discipline.
over 7 weeks, I wrote 91 pieces, the first
Wow.
one. And so I had to
So
stop.
you broke your creative drought, actually.
Yeah,
The
well, I was
discipline.
very self-critical, so some things I hated, I threw away, and some things that I altered, and so a revision process took another couple of months maybe, and then I would start writing again. But I had periods where I write a couple of days, sometimes I wrote 1 a week, whatever I did. But after 5 years, I finished it. Started on December 26, 2016, finished on early January 2022.